Air. Once again, welcome to the largest, fastest growing, and the most active global community of product-centric development and business agility and business resilience called Large Scale Scrum. Today, we have a very special guest, a certified Scrum trainer, Chris Sims, who recently relocated from the West Coast to the East Coast, probably temporarily, but he is here. So a couple of words about Chris. He's an agile coach and a recovering C++ developer who has helped organizations to improve their productivity and happiness. Chris is the founder of Agile Learning Labs and a co-author of two best-selling Scrum books, The Elements of Scrum and the Scrum Breathtakingly Brief and Agile Introduction. He has done a lot of work since 2007 under the Agile Learning Labs. Um, Besides being a professional certified Scrum trainer, he is also a longtime Scrum Master, product owner, engineering manager, and some other credentials that he has, and some of the accomplishments that he has made. And also, he's a musician and an auto mechanic in the past. So that's a nice combination. So, Chris, without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you. Please take it away, folks. Everyone, please keep your mics off, your cameras on if you can, and off we go.
Welcome. I am super excited to be here. And as I mentioned, as people were filtering in, I'm actually extra excited because I see a lot of familiar faces that hang out at the Scrum Professionals meetup, and obviously lots of new faces, right? That hang out at this meetup. And I'm excited about that to get to meet new people and make new community myself, and also excited for all of you to get to meet each other. So lots of people sharing their LinkedIn links in the chat. Kind of a nice way to expand your network and make new connections. So kind of cool to see how the chemistry is going to be today with the group. So the thing I want to talk about today and get you like hands-on involved with is business value estimation. So when I go to work with a new client company, these days, pretty much they're always doing some sort of like effort estimation. And of course, some places do it better than others, but it's more common than not that they're doing some kind of estimate of the effort of things that they want to have their teams work on. What's less common is to find that they're doing business value estimation. And that's unfortunate because when you have an estimate of the value of each thing, and an estimate of the effort of each thing, you can order your backlog by like ROI, right? Essentially, things that are high value for low effort. Oh, those are the quick wins, right? We want to do those as soon as possible. Conversely, things that are not so much value, but a lot of effort, um, maybe we shouldn't be doing those at all, but definitely probably want to defer those sorts of things. And it brings a measure of rationality to the ordering of the product backlog, right? Without something like this, all too often, order of the product backlog is more about like who yelled at me, most recently, that sort of a thing. So I think one of the reasons that business value estimation is perhaps less common is there are a lot of myths or misunderstandings about the nature of business value. And it kind of gets in our way in terms of trying to deal with it effectively. So I want to just touch on a couple of those myths or misunderstandings, and then we're going to dive into a technique for estimating business value. So one of the myths or misunderstandings is that business value is money. It's not that simple, right? Money is kind of a one-dimensional concept, right? You can represent it pretty much with a single number, right? How much do you have? More is better. Value is actually a kind of a complex multi-dimensional construct. So it's true, businesses value money, absolutely, right? But even there, they value it in like, some through some different lenses, right? We value revenue, we value cost savings, we value profit. But we value other things that we cannot directly tie to those things, at least not in the near to medium term. So, for example, we might value increasing market share. And, we might even do things in the short to medium term that will lead to less revenue or less profit, but it's going to increase market share. And maybe we think strategically that's a good thing to do. So we might value increasing market share. We might value breaking into new markets, right? We might feel like, oh, goodness, right? India, we have to figure out how to do business there, right? 1 billion people. But, it might take us a decade to learn how to do business effectively in India. And so again, we might lose a lot of money doing that, but we might feel like, no, no, this is worth it because long-term strategically, we value getting into that market. Ultimately, we think it'll be good for us. But we might value lots of other things as well. So for example, we might value attracting and retaining great talent. We might value having a certain image, right, in the marketplace. We might value being like a good corporate citizen, right, or a good member of the communities in which we're involved. So there are lots of things that a company or an organization might value. So there are more dimensions to value than simply money. So one of the myths or misunderstandings is people thinking, oh, we should be able to put a dollar number on everything in our product backlog. If only it were that simple. The next thing that kind of gets in the way isn't fully a myth, but it's often misunderstood, which is, hey, we should be able to measure business value. And here the answer is like, yes, and. So we usually cannot measure all the dimensions of business value for any particular deliverable. But we often can measure some of the most important, right? So for example, if we're about to do a big like UI redesign on our site, and we're doing it because we think it will lead to more people completing their purchases because we're going to streamline the checkout process or something. We could do A/B testing and see, oh, with the new changes, are we in fact getting a higher percentage of people who are completing their purchases? And that would absolutely be a measure of the value of that work, right? How effective was it in accomplishing our goal, right, of increasing the number of people who complete their purchases? So anytime that you can measure the value of what you're doing, uh, absolutely, I think you should. In fact, I'm going to drop a link in the chat to some ways to do that. But, you know, definitely encourage it. But doing that requires like implementing the thing. And even when we can do it, it's a trailing indicator, right? We have to like implement the thing, see how it performs, and then we can see, oh, right, how do we do in terms of creating the value we wanted to create? As someone like a product owner who's trying to prioritize a backlog and decide what things to build, I really need like leading indicators, right? Things that are going to, give me some indication of which items might be more valuable even before we build them, right? So that's a common misunderstanding, right? Some people think that, oh, if we just somehow do the right magic, we'll be able to measure the value of everything, maybe even before we implement it. Yeah, not usually, at least not before. And then another myth or misunderstanding is that there is an objective reality to business value. Alas, not really, right? Because we build our products for our stakeholders. And so value is in the eyes of the stakeholders. What is it that the stakeholders value? And because stakeholders are people, that is inherently subjective. And it's constantly changing, right? What our stakeholders value this year may be very different than what they valued last year. So it's subjective and it's changing all the time. So wait a minute, let me back up and kind of go over all this stuff. So business value is a complex, multidimensional construct. It's not as simple as just money. We can't generally directly measure it, at least not all of the dimensions, and generally not before we implement. It is subjective, not objective, and it's constantly changing. This sounds completely intractable, right? I give up. Let's go shopping. It turns out that we can estimate business value using some relatively simple techniques in ways that are really useful and effective and will help us do a good job in terms of like ordering a product backlog. And so I want to share those with you today. I want to share my favorite technique for doing this. So I think the best way to do it, or the best way to learn it, is to do it. So let me visually share the tool that we're going to be using. It's going to look like this. And let me drop a link to this into the chat and ask you all to join me here in the tool. So, boom, copy the link. Here it comes. So go ahead and click on that. And while you're joining me, um, in a moment, I'm going to send you out to breakout rooms. And when you land in your breakout room, look up at the top of the window and you will see what room you're in. I think we're going to have 6 rooms today. And once you know what room you're in, go ahead and click on the corresponding link over here in the column that says Teams. So if you find yourself in breakout room number 1, oh, you'll click on this link that says Team 1. And that'll open up a copy of this estimation tool that you and your teammates can edit. Similarly, if you're in room 2, yeah, right, click on the Team 2 link, so on and so forth. Your first assignment, real straightforward, is get into your breakout room, right? Meet the other people who you're going to be going through the exercise with, and then get each of your names in this column that says stakeholders. So for my little demo team, maybe there is Chris and the other Chris, Chris with a K, yet another Chris. And maybe that's all the people in my breakout room. And so that's what we put. So your first assignment, real straightforward, drop into your breakout room, get everybody's name in the stakeholders column, and then that's it. I'm going to give you 2.5 minutes to do that. Hopefully that's fairly generous. If you want to share screen, like if you want to have one person in the room share their screen, that's enabled, so you could do that. But it's not required because if you're all in the spreadsheet, right, you'll all see it and you'll all be working together. Once you're settled into the spreadsheet, I'm going to bring you back and then we're going to talk about the technique and how to do it. And then I'll send you off to do it. Questions about what we're about to do? All right, you'll drop in your breakout room. You'll see what room you're in. You'll click on the corresponding link in this document. Link to this document's in the chat currently. And then get the names of each of the people in your breakout room in the stakeholder column. If you need help, when you're in the breakout room, there will be a request help from the host button. Click on that. That will summon me and I will drop it. Actually, it'll summon Gene, but Gene can let me know. And I will then drop into your breakout room and render assistance. All right. Any questions before I send you off to try this? All right. See you back in 2.5 minutes. Just getting your names in the stakeholder column. That's all you got to do. To try it. Oh, darn, we missed the instructions. That's okay. Um, any questions before I send you off to try the technique? All righty. I'm going to
Are
send
are we going to discuss the previous items, or is it mainly to stay focused on whatever we just revealed and put it in order?
So when it's your turn, you get to choose one or the other. So if there's a previous item that you're like, hey, I want to go back and talk about the driveway. Let me tell you why that might be more valuable than you think. You absolutely can use your turn to do that, or you could use your turn to bring in a new item. So absolutely, we can go back and discuss previous items again. You have to choose to use your turn to do that. And when it's somebody else's turn, feel free to chime in, right? If someone says, "Oh, resurface driveway," right? I don't care about resurface driveway. I'm gonna put it up here. And you're like, "Whoa, hold on. Let me tell you why that's valuable," right? It really gives a lot of curb appeal, blah, blah, blah. Feel free to do that.
So it's basically like Secret Santa. You could either unwrap a new present or you can steal somebody's present.
I love it. Yes. Yes, that's a great way to put it. I'm gonna totally steal that description. That's fantastic. All right, I'm going to send you off. I'm going to give you 9.5 minutes to get value estimates for as many as you can. Let's see. Oh, we got a couple of people either just joined us or just rejoining us. Go, Paul. Were you already in one of the rooms?
Yeah, I was in room 6, but my microphones, I mean, I had issues with the audio. I couldn't hear, so I just joined back.
No worries. I'll put you back in room 6. All right. If you need help when you're in the room, click that request help button, and Gene will let me know which room to drop into, and I will come assist.
Hi, Chris.
Oh, too bad. Robert, were you already with us? Are you rejoining a team, or do you need to be added to a new team?
I'm so sorry. I got sucked into other meetings, so I think I better step out.
Oh no,
I do
right along.
I really it was a wonderful presentation. I wish I would have been here from the beginning.
Oh, no worries. Honestly, if you want to continue, it's the sort of thing where, like, if you ride along, it's all going to just like make
It's
sense as you
the
go.
I mean it's production issues to resolve, so
Oh,
I'm going to
goodness.
step away. So
All right, let me
you know
drop
how
a
it is.
link in the chat where you can at least get some of the goodness. So
I really appreciate it.
there you go.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for
All
dropping
right.
in. All right, so this is where it gets really fun to like see what they're doing. What are the team's opinions of the values? They all seem to be off to a good start. Buddy, welcome back. So peeking over your shoulders, it looks like each team did really well. Got lots of the items onto the board. So I'd like to talk about what was happening in your breakout room. So there's a whole bunch of us here. So if you wouldn't mind doing the little hand raise thing in Zoom, because that'll kind of make it easier to see who wants to contribute or share a thought. But yeah, I'm really interested to hear. Oh, can you hear me now? Scott, go ahead.
Yes. Yep. I lost you for a second there. Yeah. What I thought was interesting is my initial thinking was having business value be some sort of formula between the effort and the cost and maybe the return. But I think the intention is that they're completely separate. Right? You can have something that's of extreme value that's a very little effort and very little cost. So I constantly tried to remind myself value has nothing to do with the effort or the cost. So I think
Yeah.
that was just an interesting thought.
Yeah, right. And then it turns out you can calculate a ratio then, like a lot of people call it a return on investment score or something.
Sure.
And then that can be useful for prioritization. But it's true, right? Just because something is either high or low effort has no implication on is it high or low value, right? These are kind of independent axes. Yeah. Love that observation. Mickey, what did you notice?
Yeah, we started to steer toward that also. The one thing when the pool came up, I wish that there was something that said, and what does that do to your taxes? But but otherwise, the team as they progressed, and I took sort of a Scrum Master approach, giving some direction to ensure that we looked at value and we didn't look at effort related to that. And there was a good consensus. We actually had something that was shifted also. We didn't see a change after that, but it was really in building, and we approached this as a new house completely. And if it was a rebuild, then we missed that. But I pushed it as a new house, so that's how we as a team aligned.
I love that. And one of the things I hear in your comment, your observation, is that while, say, the cost of implementing a thing should probably be considered as a separate thing, right, from the value, one of the things that actually probably does impact the value is what I would call total cost of ownership, which is, okay, once we've implemented the thing, some things are actually going to be expensive to maintain while other things are not, right? So think about introducing a new feature in a software product. Some features are like super obvious to use and they're not going to increase our support costs, while other features maybe are really complicated and tricky and are going to generate lots of support tickets and things like that. And so that might factor in. Yeah, I love that observation. Thank you. Brian, what did you notice?
I yeah, I think we got them in the right order pretty quick. Like everybody sort of felt they were in the right order, but then like what's twice as valuable as the previous item, and we were still sort of nailing that down. So it was a bit of a little bit of a discussion, which I think would in reality that's kind of what would happen. Whether you're talking about, features you're building for a business or what have you. So I think there's just a lot of inherent discussion around the items and like what's the scope and what does something entail.
Yeah, and I find that for a given group of stakeholders, the more items that they kind of estimate the value of together over time and maybe over recurring sessions, um, they start to develop this kind of shared sense of their value scale. And the more items that are up there, very often, the more little tweaks and adjustments they make, right? Because they start to become aware of like, ooh, this other factor that might affect value. And so over time, I find that the scale tends to get better and better and more useful. Glenn, what do you got?
Comment on the comment earlier about taxes. I submit that because, as you said, it's got ongoing costs that would inherently be reflected in the value. I'd like a pool, but I hate the maintenance, so all else equal, I would knock it down. But I wanted to check with whoever said that first. Does that address your comment about tax? Moving on. Never mind.
I agree with you, Glenn. I absolutely agree. Other observations? What did you notice? What did you notice? What was happening? Yeah, Scott.
I think the other interesting thing is I might make different choices for my home, but we have to remember the whole intent here was to sell this. And so what's a priority with respect to resale value? So again, lowest amount of dollars in, maximize the sale price, as opposed to what I might do to a home if I was renovating my own.
And one of the things I think I hear in there is as a group, probably you were starting to create your own shared sense of what are the dimensions of value for us, right? What does value mean for this group of stakeholders? And in this simulation, in this game, two common dimensions of value that often surface are resale value and quality of life value, right? Like, oh, we're going to live in this house for a year. And it's interesting, right? Because resale value is one that, in general, all of the stakeholders would participate in, and presumably equally. Although I've actually had groups that start making deals, like, oh, well, if we get the master bath, then I'll have the master bedroom, but then you can have more of the money when we sell the house. I'm like, this is just a game. There's not really a house here, people. But anyway, right? So that's a dimension that's shared. Whereas quality of life, right, could be very different for different people, right? So someone who really likes to cook might really value kitchen upgrades, right? Where someone like me, who's kind of like kitchen, kitchen, that's the thing that restaurants have, right? Right, we might not value that as much. And so there can be more disagreement about the relative value of those things. So I love that. CS, what do you got? Oh,
I have one question.
yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, in the prioritization technique, just as well. I hope you can hear me clearly, right?
I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah. So don't we take other characteristics or qualities such as, like, okay, um, if you are telling you have to prioritize this thing for prioritizing the backlog for particular this example. So don't you look into that? What are the uh, are we first prioritizing as per the security, as per the regulatory and compliance or not, and which provides more business value as per the dollar value, which is easy to implement and this everything. I think like those qualities also comes into particular thing as such. For example, if we are building a new house and we say we want a master washroom, and if it is that is going to take us 6 months to get completed, but before that, if a builder or we can complete 10 more items within a 1 or 2 month as such. So don't you think though the master washroom might be im- important, but it might take us 6 months to complete. So it is better to complete the other 10 things which can get completed by 1 month or so.
Yeah. Oh, there's two things I hear in that comment that I want to call out because I think they're both really brilliant. The first one is I heard you talking about like what are the different factors that would play into something being valuable, right? Like the impact on security, for example, maybe impact on compliance. Depending on your environment, right? Those might be significant drivers of value. And one of the things that ends up being important is when you're doing a value estimation exercise like this, making sure you've brought in kind of a good representative set of stakeholders, right? Do we have somebody in the room who can speak to and represent the importance of compliance, for example, if that's an important thing in our environment, or security? I also find it very useful to have someone who can represent the intrinsic and inherent value of the system itself, right? So having the team that does the building there can often do that. Or if we're a bigger organization, maybe having somebody like a system architect or somebody like that who can speak to the inherent business value of some things that might be more technical, right? Like, oh, we need to upgrade the version of Oracle. And they can speak to like, well, why do we need to do that? Right? It's well, because Oracle needs more money. But yeah, so I heard that in there, right? These different dimensions of value. And then the other thing I heard is uh, we can't order the product backlog just based on value, right? And this gets to a thing I see all the time, which is business people frequently use the word priority when they mean value, right? In your example, someone might say, "Oh, the master bathroom is, top priority." And it's like, well, maybe it means that's the most valuable thing, right? So we want to talk about that because, to me, priority means we should work on it first. And as you called out, gosh, maybe there are other upgrades that we could do quickly that would ultimately get us more value fast. I'm going to jump over to Glenn in just a second. I want to just call something out because it's a thing that some of you might benefit from, and maybe your friends. And sadly, it's going away very soon. My company, Agile Learning Labs, does certified Scrum workshop, certified Scrum Master, certified Scrum Product Owner, advanced certified Scrum Product Owner, and we've been doing this thing for quite a while, where people who are job seekers can take our workshops for half price. The Scrum Alliance, which is the organization that kind of, governs the whole certified Scrum space, is coming out with some new regulations about how big of a discount can providers advertise. And right now, our half price for job seekers is bigger than they're going to allow in the future. So the new regulations go into effect August 1st. So if you register in the next couple of weeks, I guess, anytime before August, you can still get into our workshops at half price. So there's a link in the chat with the special half price registration links. So there's end of advertisement. And Gene, do we have time to get Glenn's question, or do we have to fly?
We'll take one question, just one, because we need
All right.
to wrap up after this.
All right, Glenn, what do you got?
Thank you.
Yeah, I was on mute. There's a bit of a subtle point, and this is kind of opening up things. There's things that are foundational. I would call it's typically called technical debt. Using the house as an analogy, if you were a skilled renovation person, you would know that, I'm making this up, that you have to replace the gas line every 10 years. But stakeholders wouldn't know that. But you have to devote a percentage of your capacity to doing things like technical debt. And stakeholders just won't know it. But if you don't do that, and upgrading Oracle would be another example, they just won't see it. But you need to talk to the technical people doing the work. And if they're not dedicating a percentage of capacity to technical debt pay down, things are going to end badly.
Yeah, and that's why I think that we have to have some of those technical people in the room, and even somebody who can participate as a technical stakeholder who can speak to that and say, hey, yeah, if we don't replace the gas lines, right? I get it. You don't get any new feature when we replace gas lines, but if we don't do it, you're at increased risk of a fire, an explosion, something really bad happening. So let me explain why that has value, right? And I think having somebody who can speak to the value of those more technical things is really important in these conversations. Yes.
I completely agree, although I do it a different way. I ask the sponsor, what percentage of capacity will they allow us to put on the technical debt things that need to be done, and the team gets to decide that. And this can be a great tool for engaging people on a software team. Hey guys, we got 10% of our budget to go and improve things. Upgrade Oracle for sure, but next we have to go and get that latest compiler because it's super great, blah, blah, blah. And you basically have a budget.
I love it. Yeah, I like it. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you to those who've hung out a few extra minutes. I appreciate it very much. And thank you, Gene, for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for coming out and doing this, Chris. Thank you, everyone, for joining, folks. So to the extent that my technology doesn't let me down, I should be able to have a recording for everyone in the next maybe 48 hours or so. So look out for the link that I shared in the chat window. I'm going to post it there. Once again, thank you, Chris. Thank you, the audience. Enjoy the rest of the week and the weekend that's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Chris. This is great.
Be well. Be safe.
Thank you, Gene and Chris. Great session.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Have a good weekend.
Cheers.
Thank you.